And later today, the International Monetary Fund releases its outlook on the state of the global economy. And the IMF's forecast comes as the world's top politicians and business leaders, they all gathered in Davos for the World Economic Forum. Well, for more on some of the week's key events, I spoke to Lutfey Siddiqi. He's a visiting professor at the London School of Economics, who is also one of the folks gathering in Davos this week. I asked him what he anticipated from the World Economic Outlook, which will be released in Davos later.
It is on a path to recovery, but we have gone through a massive mood swing in the last year or so. We've gone from subdued to sanguine and now almost celebratory, which is a risk in itself. If you just cast your mind back, there were several anxieties that we were grappling with about a year ago. There was politics in the West, Brexit, Trump, European elections coming up, the whole talk about stagnation in Western growth at the time, and then China was a big deal. Anxieties around the shakiness of its credit profile, but also the fact that it wasn't buying enough commodities from the rest of the world, which had knock-on effects for growth outlook. But more recently, in October, 3 months ago, what the outlook did was they did two things. In the short term, they affirmed that near-term recovery looks solid, but they also raised questions about long-term sustainability. And what we're looking for in the report later on today is which of these two do they emphasize more? Because I'm of the opinion that we run the risk of getting too far ahead of ourselves. The markets are a bit too exuberant. I was looking at some of the research from the various banks. The titles are things like as good as it gets, that sort of stuff. And I think a bit of caution would be advisable. And I'm eager to see which of the two the report emphasizes.
But what do you think the focus will be this year?
It's not just Trump, it's also Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India at the start, so it's bookended by the two of them. There's Angela Merkel, Theresa May, President Macron of France. So it's really a marketplace of narratives that I think we will see here. The key question is what happens to the issues of distribution, inequalities, the social dislocation that has been behind the forces of Brexit, or some of the more forces of populism. And I think that's the narrative that we're all going to be watching out for.
And that was Lutfey Siddiqi.